Hey, I am Marshall Corzette. I am one of the baritone bass section leaders here at St. Andrews, and I will be singing today The Call by Ralph Vaughn Williams. One of the things that I really love about Ralph Vaughn Williams is he started to create a typical British style of music, a typical British sound. He was actually one of the first people to do that. It was very difficult for Great Britain to come up with a sound that was British. We have the French, we have the Italians, we have the Russians. They all have a very typical sound, but until the early 1900s, when Ralph Vaughan Williams and Benjamin Britten come on the scene, we don't really see a British style of music. The Five Mystical Songs actually portrays that very well. The poems are written by George Hebert, who was in the late 1500s, early 1600s, an Anglican priest and poet. Ralph Vaughan Williams wrote these in the middle of his life. He was probably in his 30s or 40s. I believe it was 1911 or so that these were first published. And this was definitely during the time that he was editing the Great British Hymnal. I think that he found these poems, thought that they were very beautiful, that they displayed something a little bit more than a typical hymn, and he wanted to really enhance that. Throughout the poems, you see a very wide range of feelings from him. The first song is very victorious, called Easter, Rise Heart, My Lord is Risen. The second one is still very joyous, but a little bit more faster paced. The third one, Love Bade Me Welcome, kind of goes back into that contemplative state. And then we come to The Call, the fourth song. And this is the song that we're doing today. He chose to go in a very simplistic nature for this song. The organ accompaniment is very bare minimum, frankly, when you compare it to all of the other songs that have come before it. This poem has a lot of repetition of words. It has a lot of meaning to it, contemplation. And I believe that he wanted that to shine through, for people to really focus on what was being said. This song cycle was originally written for baritone solo and choral accompaniment, and it is written technically to be performed all at once. Baritones often like to do them by themselves without the choral accompaniment. Baritone soloist is actually an important part of this because especially the first, second, and last songs, Easter, which is about the Lord rising again and being victorious, and the last song, which is called the antiphon, is just let all the world praise his name, praise God. And I think that these victorious, very resounding anthems kind of fit a baritone voice very well. It's a very medium timbre, and so when you start to get into those higher notes, the baritone has to resonate, and so he could use that. Rise, heart, and let all the world rejoice for my God. This song specifically has a lot of long phrases to it. You need a lot of breath in order to really sing these. The foremost problem or technical challenge that people will face in this one is actually the words. There's a lot of words that are very colorful. This one has a very repeating pattern, and so you have to figure out, why did this repeat? Why does it continue to do this again and again? What's the importance of that? Why does it correlate to the different sides? And how can I bring out something different each time I say the same thing over again? In the text of this piece, the first word in every verse is come. Come my way, come my light. I think that the poet originally was using that as a call, but it is not in this specific piece. It is not to other people. This is actually to the entity of Christ, the entity of the Lord, and all three of them. Come my way, my truth, my life. He is begging for that entity to come and show him through his life how to continue to move forward. And then at the end of each of these verses, he kind of celebrates the nature of this. Come my way, my truth, my life, such a way. Such a light, such a feast. I feel so wonderful because I have this type of entity leading me through my life. One of the interesting things about this piece is actually the time signature, because it switches back and forth between these kind of very odd time signatures that we don't see a lot, 9/4 and 6/4. It actually divides it into three. There are three verses of this. There's 9/4 and 6/4, and you can easily divide those into little sub beats of 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And obviously those things can very picturesque be of the Trinity of God. I also think that the lilting pattern actually helps it not get pedantic, because we have so much repetition in this song and so wordy at some points. I think that this kind of helps it move forward and create a little bit of a difference so that you are not just lulled into sleep. At the end of every verse, there's an interesting thing that happens where he has this kind of melisma on a single word. There's a lot of notes that kind of carry through time on a single word. The first verse is killeth death. And there's a very interesting dynamic there, killing death. Obviously, only Christ has ever been seen to do that. In the second verse, it is as makes his guest. And that is obviously reminiscent of the feast that we are speaking of. And we're spreading strength because we are giving food. He is our food. He is giving us strength, and he is making us his guest at this table. And in the final verse, we then come to the most joyous moment, the most happy that we are. And it is that such a heart joys in love. We find his heart, and we find that he actually wants us to be loved. He wants us to be fulfilled in him. He joys in that love. And I do find it interesting, the end of the verses, where he kind of just pauses for a moment and he says, look at this word, why it's here.
Come my way, my truth, my life, such a way as gives us breath, such a truth as ends all strife, such a life as killeth death. Come my light, my feast, my strength, such a light as shows a feast, such a feast as mends in length, such a strength as makes his guest. Come my joy, my love, my heart, such a joy as none can move, such a love as none can part, such a heart as joys in love.
Thanks for watching.